Hey, everybody. It's Darius, aka DMC. You know me, it's your boy. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to say that this one is a little different than what we usually do. So, as many of you know who've been rocking with us for a while, we usually don't focus solely on sex, love, and relationships. But it is something that many of our viewers, as well as we, can relate to. So while this episode is not going to be focused on gay love, dating, or relationships in the LGBTQ community, it is still about something that is just as real: healing, growth, and the power of honest conversation. So this two-part episode dives into what happens when friendships change, when silence creeps in, and when those two parties or entities finally sit down to unpack the why. It's about accountability, it's about grace, and it's about reconciliation. All of the things that really help us become better people in every kind of relationship, whether that relationship is romantic, familial, or in this case, platonic. So even if this isn't our typical subject matter, we hope that you will stick around and that you will listen and share both parts of this episode. Because one thing is for certain and two things are for sure. Healing is universal. And if you listen to both of these episodes with an open heart, you might hear a little bit of yourself in this story. So with that said, let's talk about what really happens when time, pride, and unspoken words come between two people who once called each other family. Hope y'all enjoy. What's up, everybody? You've tuned in to Just Drawz, the podcast that explores hot topics and various experiences among same-gender loving Black men. In each episode, we offer raw, vulnerable, and stripped-down perspectives to give voice to our frequently overlooked population. Here, we don't just scratch the surface, we dive deep, peeling back the layers of our experiences as well as heteronormative stereotypes. Let's get into this week's episode. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Just Drawz podcast, where we keep it vulnerable, raw, stripped down, and authentically just us. So y'all know me. It's your boy, Darius, aka DMC. Now, all right, we got something special for y'all tonight. All right, so this episode right here is going to hit a lot different, okay? So previously on Just Drawz, I believe it was season 2, we did a two-part episode about friendship. We talked about how we show up as friends, what things we value in friendship as adults versus what we valued in friendship when we were kids, and even like good and bad experiences with friends we currently have in our social circle now. One of the other things that we talked about was friendship breakups. Okay. So I told a story about a friend whom I felt I had broken away from. And well, instead of me talking about it, why don't y'all just watch this clip? Now, the clip is going to be a little bit longer, so just lock in so that you can understand exactly where this episode is going. I have a person who I would still consider her a friend, but we just don't talk at all. And I've known her for 40 years. We were in kindergarten together, and I've known her that long. I know her family. I was there when her younger brother, she has a younger brother who passed away of HIV. I was at the funeral. I was one of the pallbearers, one of his pallbearers. I was there when she had all of her kids. She has 4 kids. She has 2 children that are in college right now. One of them actually is at my alma mater right now. I was there when she went through weight loss surgery, and, I've been there for her. And so I backed away from her because I don't get that back. Like, I don't get a phone call. I don't get a text. I don't get like anything from her. And then like, if I come into town, it's like, well, when I go back home to North Carolina, I'm like, okay, well, like if I want to see you, I have to do all of the work. I have to figure out where we're going to go. I have to come to you. There's even points where I can't say, hey, let's go to dinner. I'll be home for a week. Let's find a time so that we can go to dinner. We can catch up, stuff like that. Like it's always a thing of she doesn't have time. And even her husband, I know her husband, and her husband's like, I want her to go hang out with you because I know you. I know what you all have been through together. And so there are instances where I had to kind of step back from a lot of those situations or a lot of those instances, because it's like, well, what am I getting? I'm filling up your cup, and I'm not getting my cup filled in return, or I'm not even getting, 2 drops added back to my cup, like none of that. So a lot of the friend breakups that I have had have been because of things like that. And I'll still see her like on social media, and I get my news from her or about her through social media, or maybe through somebody else that I just so happened to run into that we were in school with, and they were like, hey, have you talked to? Nope, have not. I haven't. So a lot of my friend breakups have been because of those sorts of things. And then it makes me wonder too, kind of like what Brandon was saying about, okay, were these really friends, or were these people that were like, okay, these were people that were going through a certain situation? Like, this was somebody I was in school with. This was somebody that I did this with. With her is a little different. And that really hurt me. That really bothered me, because of all of the people that I was friends with, or thought I was friends with. She was the one that stayed the most consistent. But in hindsight, it was me overcompensating for the fact that I wasn't even being met halfway in that relationship. And at the time I was okay with it, I guess. But as I got older, it was like, okay, yeah, I'm not okay with this. Like I'm going through some of my own things too. And while I'd love to be there for everybody and be everything to everybody all the time, I'd love to do that. But like, sometimes I had to back away and take care of some things and reset and do all of these things. And who's going to be there for me? Go ahead.
Quick question. Do you think that in an instance of you needing her, do you think that she'll be there for you? Or do you think that it'll also kind of be like something that she'll keep to the side? Or do you think she's the kind of person who, considering all that you've been through, like you guys have like a very constant relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so do you think that even though she's not as social, because in my mind, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt of, being a mom of 4 kids,
Mm-hmm.
being a mother, being a wife, and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
to where like she might not have as much wiggle room, not to negate what you're saying by any
No, I get
means,
that.
your stance. Because the same way she can post on Facebook or
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, she could also shoot you a text back. So I get
Right.
that. You know what I mean? I get what you're saying. But I'm just wondering, but based on how constant your relationship has been, is she someone who you think would, at the drop of a dime, if you really, really needed her and you let her know that she'd show up for you?
I can't. I can't answer that.
That's
I
fair.
can't.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
I honestly can't answer that. I could. And part of the reason why I don't think I could answer that is because I don't know that I would reach out to her. I'm
Okay.
at that phase where it's
Okay.
like when I'm kind of done, I'm done,
Hmm.
And if I've taken a stance on something, I'm usually firm in that. I'm usually clear about it. That okay, this is where I am, this is how I'm going to move, this is how I'm going to function. That is what it is. And it takes a minute for me to get there, but when I'm there, we're I'm there. I'm standing, sitting, laying on business in that wherever that is.
So you weren't getting the type of friendship from
Mm-hmm.
her
Mm-hmm.
that you felt like you were giving her.
Yes. All right. So on this episode, I'm sitting down with someone that I've known for 40 plus years. Now, some of y'all who probably watching this weren't even alive 40 years ago, but We were. All right. She's a friend who was and is like family. We've shared laughs, we've shared memories, life milestones. And then, like, somewhere along the way, we kind of stopped talking. And that silence lasted for just a little bit of time, not as long as I initially thought it was, but it did last for at least a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. So we didn't have any kind of fight. We had no big explosion. There was just like this awkward kind of space, distance, and time. All right. And I mean, we all know, and as y'all like to say, life be lifing. And recently, we just reconnected. It was actually last month. She reached out, and during lunch, I really thought it was time for us to have like a real conversation. So not just for us, really, but for anybody out there, any of our listeners or any of our viewers who have lost a friend and really just like maybe not ever found out or never knew quite why. So this episode is going to be about honesty, accountability, some grief, love, and even forgiveness. So, as we always say here, grab a drink or keep your damn hands on the wheel, readjust your support, and let's get into it. So, y'all, please welcome to Just Drawz, Nikki Stover Nesbitt, aka Mercury. All right. Welcome
Hi,
to the
everyone.
podcast. Welcome.
Thank
Thank you
you for
so much.
having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And so we'll talk a little bit about why I call her Mercury in just a little bit. And you might be able to see or you might not be able to see, but we have on our shirts here. Slide back a little bit. So yeah, so I'm Mars and she's Mercury, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But Nikki, why don't you tell the viewers and the listeners just a little bit about yourself?
Okay, as Darius or DMC introduced me, my name's Nikki Stover Nesbitt. I am a mom of four. Yeah, imagine that. Four children. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I've got two adults and two teenagers. Their ages range from 21, 20, and I have a set of twins that are 16. I've been with their father for over 25 years,
Yeah, a
but we've
lifetime.
been, yeah, and we've been married for 15, we'll be 16 next year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, yeah, 16 because the twins will be 17. So, yeah, it'll be roughly 15, 16 years. Don't quote me on that. So, we've been together for a long time. I joke all the time. I told him, he said, you've taken all my good years.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I'm a daughter. I'm a sister.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my brother is no longer with us, I'm
Mm-hmm.
still will always forever will be his sister.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
so that's basically my life in the span of what 20 words or less. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
mom, a daughter, a wife. I'm a dog mom, so I
And you
have a
can
lot
have
of
all of that.
yeah, I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of titles, and
Mm-hmm.
um, as the conversation will progress, you'll see there are times when my plate runneth over
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
my cup runneth over, as a lot of people says. But I've always prided myself on being a friend.
Mm-hmm.
But as this conversation progresses, you'll see that from my vantage point, the type of friend that I thought that I was, I may not have been to the people that I call my friends. So this is a much needed conversation I believe that we needed to have. And I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
that um, it's one that we're having. It was long overdue because I want to clear up any confusion that may
Mm-hmm.
have existed with you as far
Mm-hmm.
as where our relationship, I don't even want to say friendship, where our relationship
Yeah, yeah.
may have shifted gears,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like I said,
Yeah.
it shifted and I didn't even know it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but we've got a whole conversation, a whole bunch of questions and things that we can address throughout this conversation, and
Yeah.
hopefully at the end of it there'll be a little more clarity for both of us,
Mm-hmm.
and we both can learn something, walk away having learned something about our
Mm-hmm.
friendship
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
at the end of it.
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. So let's,
Okay.
again, like I said, let's get into it. All right, let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about, maybe talk a little bit about how we met and what made our friendship strong for so long. So
Right.
we, again, like I said earlier, we have known each other for 40 plus years. We were in the same kindergarten class. All right. And what's wild as hell was that we were in the same kindergarten class, but we did not realize we were in the same kindergarten class until we got in high school. And so we started talking about high school. I'm just going to talk about elementary school while we were in high school. So we became friends again in high school through the band. We both played in the band in high school. And so I forgot where the conversation where it stemmed from, but we were just talking and we were like, oh, she was like, oh, I went to so-and-so elementary. I went to Highland Elementary. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, well, when were you there? And so we started, checking years and stuff like that. And after that, it was like, okay, wait a minute. Who was your teacher? And we started talking about the teacher, and she pulled out the same elementary school picture that I had in my grandmother's house. And she was like, oh yeah, she was like, because I was on the front row and my old best friend, my former best friend that I had kind of grown up with, was standing next to me in the picture. And she was like, oh yeah, he was standing in the picture next to you with a Michael Jackson button on. And I was like, wait a minute, we were in the same class. And so from there, it was on. We were already cool. We were already friends, but it was crazy to reconnect in that way. And, take a look at these two pictures, of us when we were in elementary school. So for those of you who can see the podcast, our pictures are hopefully popping up on the screen right now for you. So why do you think our friendship was strong?
I think our personalities meshed well. And it's just, I think coming into high school, that was an adjustment in itself. And I think the best part about joining high school was the fact that we were joining band camp. So we got to actually forge a relationship with a community of people,
Yeah.
even though we were freshmen, you know what I mean? Because,
Mm-hmm.
that transition from middle school to high school is always an adjustment. So when we joined band, the marching band,
We
it
had a
gave us,
family.
yeah, we already had a
Yeah.
community amongst
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. So even if we really didn't hang with the cool kids, or the people that were considered the cool kids, we already had a clique of our own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
I
mean, we
think
were the
that,
cool kids though. So like,
well,
let's
yeah,
let's put that out there. Yeah, we were.
period.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah. What all that bullshit. I hate this. Yeah. It's like almost
Oh
gang
my
sign
God.
ish, but
Yeah, yeah. So, in that, I think that aided in that. And then we spent a lot of time together, and I think we bonded over that. And I just think that our personalities just meshed well together, and we laughed all the
we did.
time,
We did. We did.
so that helped. And um for whatever reason, and we'll probably address that later on throughout the conversation, there were other people that were brought into our circle, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think, and then amongst ourselves, we had our own little small, at least I thought, a friend
Yeah.
group,
Yeah. Me too. I thought that
and
too.
right. And not for nothing, two of the other people that we actually hung around with, they were in the band as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Martinez was one that
Was the one that
joined
wasn't?
later.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think I knew Martinez, but I think you and him were friends
Yeah,
outside. And then,
we were in gosh, what course was it? It was algebra 2 or something like that we were in together, and we sat next to each other. And so we forged that friendship because we were sitting there next to each other, and we
cut up.
cut a fucking fool in that class. Every day was a mess. And so yeah, like you said, there were 4 of us that were in band together. And so we all had kind of forged that friendship because we were in band. And so for me to kind of pull him in, it was like, hey, you know what? I think he is really cool. Like, let's make him a part of the crew. So while we're in this space, we're talking about the crew. High school was around the time that, for those of you anime fans, Sailor Moon hit the US around the time that we were in high school. And so I have always been on this thing about friendship. And one of the themes of the show was definitely friendship and love and all of that stuff. And so based on the show, I watched the show. And based on the show, I kind of gave everybody like a planet nickname, you know, based on their personality and stuff like that. Nikki was always the one that was kind of, you know, the calm, kind of cool, collected one, unless you got her pissed off. And then, you know, then it was different. It was a different story. It was a different type of Mercury then.
Then I was
Yeah. She was the one that would go to bat for you, and she was the one that always stood for you. I was the brat, you know, I was the one that didn't give a fuck, you know, so that's why, you know, I was Mars, and I'm always the one with my arms folded somewhere. Martinet, who she just mentioned, was like the lover. He was the one that people enjoyed, and he was the not even gonna say the life of the party, but he definitely was one that he didn't really have any enemies like that. Brian was Jupiter. He was kind of the loose cannon sometimes, or the one that was kind of off doing his own thing most of the time. And our friend Stacy was Moon. She was the one that was kind of the youngest. She was the one that we kind of took under our wing and made sure that she was good and all of that stuff. She was a year behind us. So that's why, you know, we're Mercury and Mars and like all of that stuff. So I think, Nikki, you told me you have me saved in your phone as Mars, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, so, even now.
See, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I that is Nikki. Yeah, Mercury is like that pet name that we use around the family and stuff like that. But one thing that I will say about our friendship, one thing that really meant a lot to me within our friendship, is the fact that you were consistent. And consistency is something that I talk about a lot on this podcast, because it's something that it's a lost art almost. And people I encounter, even though consistency is something that I feel is subjective, it's not something that is, okay, here's what consistency means to every single person in the world all the time, every day. It's something that needs to be negotiated within whatever kind of relationship that you're in. And for me and with you, I could always pick up the phone and call you. And this was, again, everybody, this was before cell phones. So I could call her at the house. Like, I knew that she would be at home. If she wasn't at work, or she knew I wasn't at work, it was easy for me to call her on the phone and be like, hey, what you up to? You know, we just sit around and talk and laugh. We, you know, talk shit about stuff that happened at school, or we just kind of catch each other up on what's going on in life. She's normally telling me stuff about, you know, people she was hanging with or people she was dating at the time. And then I was always talking about my family. So we built that bond there. So that level of consistency was something that I did not get from the rest of our friend group, with the exception of Stacy. Stacy was pretty much always consistent too. But Martinet and Brian had their own kind of thing going on. And so sometimes it was a little bit more difficult to catch up with them. But Nikki was always that constant force. She was always the one that I could always reach out to. So what about you? How did you feel?
I will say that. I mean, my vantage point of our friend group at that time, I would say about it's about the same. Brian,
yeah, that's a whole episode.
Yeah, I will say this. Even though he may not have always showed up for everyone else, for whatever reason, he would show up for me. You know,
he did. I remember talking about that.
We had this thing where every time we would have birthdays, we would always get together for each other's birthday and make it a whole thing. You know, a whole day where it's just us hanging together for that day. And you know, it would be planned out. And I'm not gonna lie, most of the time, Darius would be the one that did all of the planning.
I'm still that guy, and I'm trying my best to get out of that shit. But I am still that dude. Everybody's like, "Well, you gonna plan it?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to."
Right. So yeah. So and because of that, I think that was one thing, you know, when you have one that is consistently showing up for one situation, but then when it comes time to celebrate or be there for others, he wasn't nowhere to be found. It was always oh, something came up, or he's always going to come up until that moment, and
Right,
then
right.
something unexpectedly happens.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, Stacy, she was the first one out of all of us to have a child. So,
Mm-hmm.
her responsibility changed to
Shifted,
some
yeah.
degree,
Mm-hmm.
So, when we were out, getting ready for school and living life, Stacy had gotten pregnant and she had her son. So, her life, her responsibilities, like I said, changed. Then Martinez, he would be there. He would be more consistent than the other two.
Mm-hmm.
But then I noticed that there was a waning. He was waning off a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
and that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you would spend time with Martinez one on one. You would
Yeah,
go
yeah.
spend time
Mm-hmm.
with his family. So that's why I would say you were always connected to us individually,
Mm-hmm.
and you had your own relationship with each of us, and they were all different.
Yeah, yeah. I always tried to make that clear that even though we were all a group, everybody had different personalities, and I wanted to honor everybody's personalities, because some of the things that you and I could talk about
Mm-hmm.
are not things necessarily that I would talk to about with him or with Martinet
Right.
or with Brian or even with Stacy, So sometimes, and I've had those real kind of conversations with all of you all, and I
Mm-hmm.
value that. So, that's one thing that the listeners and the viewers will know about me, is that I'm very relational when I'm locked in. If
Yeah.
if you're there, I try to be that. There it's not without flaws sometimes, because sometimes I can tend to be a little bit overly critical, but people who know me kind of understand that I'm in that space sometimes, and it's all out of love. It's not necessarily for my own
To hurt.
gratification,
Yeah.
yeah, to hurt
And,
anybody
and
else.
And I will say that I anytime that you've given your opinion on anything, so I don't ever want that to be something that was in the back of your mind, because I'm not sure if it was
Mm-mm.
that
No.
you were a judgy person or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
or any feedback that we would get or I would get was put me in a headspace where I say, you know what, I just can't deal. It was never that. I really I need to, and I get, and I know, and I say this, and I'll keep saying this over and over again. I know we'll get
Mm-hmm.
more into depth about it, like, throughout the conversation, but I can't emphasize enough. And I told you that the day we had lunch,
Mm-hmm.
that it was nothing in my mind. There was nothing wrong. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I, I'm of that. And a lot of people, I don't know if anybody out there can relate to this.
Mm-hmm.
If I've rocked with you, if I love you, if I've ever had love for you, and I call you a friend, there's never, unless you've done something to me to hurt me, hamper me, or belittle me.
Mm-hmm.
If I've ever had love for you in my heart, we could go a year, 2 years and not speak. And when I see you again, it. I'll pick up like I just saw you yesterday,
And
because
that was, yeah.
there was no, and I think that probably just like, what is wrong with this chick? Is she
No,
crazy? We
no,
haven't.
because that's one of the things that they talked about, that some of the other hosts on that
Mhm,
specific episode, our other hosts talked about, and they talked about how, yeah, I can just pick up, I can
mhm,
not talk to you and just pick up. And for me, that doesn't work for me, because then I start to worry and wonder or question, why was there such a gap? Why,
right.
if why did we have to pick back up? What was happening
Yeah.
in that? And so that's why sometimes I find myself not ascribing to that, because I'm like, we shouldn't have gotten off in the first place, even though I know that stuff happens. But
Right.
yeah, so there was a shift kind of in our relationship. And I don't know, did you notice that there was a shift?
If I'm being honest, I know that we didn't talk
Mm-hmm.
regularly. I will say I'm guilty of it. When we
Mm-hmm.
did communicate, you were always the one that initiated it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a bad care. I'm just bad at that. Um, I just figure if I'll say this, and I'm not using this as an excuse, but
Mm-hmm.
I see it now. It's like how I grew up. The type of family I grew up in. I didn't grow up with a mother or father that told me they loved me endlessly every day. It's
Okay.
just understood. You
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So, um, with that, I feel like if I've called you a friend and
Mm-hmm.
you just supposed to just know that the love is there. Nothing has
Mm-hmm.
happened. I don't have to tell you every day. I don't have to talk to you every day. You
Mm-hmm.
just know. But see, then that's a cop out, I believe. And even in me saying that, that's a cop out because when you're in a relationship with your partner,
Mm-hmm. There has to be some sort of communication. There has to be
yes,
some
you have to
something.
have
Yeah,
that.
I
Yes, you
love
can't just
you, kiss my
assume.
ass, talk
Yes,
to
you
the
can't just
hand.
because if you land in the bed by your mate and
Mm-hmm.
you go 2 and 3 months with no affirmation, no, I love you, you start to wonder,
Yeah.
well, do this person really love me? So I
Mm-hmm.
can understand why you felt the way you felt, but you hear that phrase, charge it to my head and not
Head,
my
not my
heart,
heart.
because
Yeah.
that's not me. But I figured that it's understood that it
Mm-hmm.
just you don't have to ask because of how long we've been friends. I just assumed
Mm-hmm.
that it was just understood that no matter, no, what's that? Ain't no ocean, ain't no sea can keep my away from me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like even with that, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I just assumed that, and that was on me because I can't just assume that because I feel that way
Mm-hmm.
that you gonna just know
Yeah.
automatically.
And you're saying all of that, and you know, us having grown,
Hmm.
as adults and grown, really, really grown adults,
Yeah.
like you learn those love languages. And I
Hmm.
learned a while ago that, my love language, my primary love language is words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And hearing those things from people actually fills my love tank per se. And
Mhm.
so it doesn't even have to be a long conversation. It could just be a check-in, a hey, what's going on? Now, since we've had that conversation at lunch and we've reconnected in that way, like literally I can text you and you'll text me back.
Mhm.
And it's not even an everyday kind of thing that we talk,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
that makes me feel wanted. It makes me feel valued when I just
Mhm.
even get a text back like a hey, what's up? you
Mhm.
know it's that little bit, it's that little drop that I need. And so I noticed that our friendship, the shift in our friendship, a lot of it came when your responsibilities started to increase. And I am and still am completely aware of all of the things that you had on your plate. And I wasn't trying to take a place of anything that you had going on, because I was there for the birth of all four of them babies. Well, they ain't babies,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I was, yeah, they not. So I was there for the birth of all four of them, or around for the birth of all four of them.
Mhm.
And I didn't hold your feet to the fire of you not reaching out to me or calling me as much, because I'm like, you know what? She is got a husband. Y'all weren't married at that time, I don't think,
Okay. Mm-mm.
but maybe I don't know. But
Me neither.
yeah, right. Neither one of us, not because I don't remember what the hell I did yesterday. But yeah, so something to that effect. But at least I knew that you had, that you had children, and that you were trying to take care of things. And so I was okay with not having the same level of communication that I had with you when we were in high school, or when I was in college, and you were in college too, for a little while, like when we were both kind of in college.
Mhm.
So it was like, okay, I'm fine with that. And I want you to know that I understood that, and that I got it, but
Mhm.
there were points where I was like, okay, well, I'm coming home, which is why it didn't bother me for a long time when I would come home and I would reach out and I would go, hey, what's up? I'm home. Let's do lunch, or hey, I'm home for a week for Thanksgiving. You got some free time. I would pack a lunch and travel out to wherever it was that you were living, because you damn sure don't live in Charlotte. So You know,
Oh, Richard Petty.
that's fine. Petty right, no pain, no gain. So yeah, so I'm like, that's fine. I will go out there and do that just because I knew about all of the responsibilities that you have and or haven't had, and I don't
Yeah.
want it. I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure that you knew that that wasn't the reason I kind of withdrew. It was gradual for me. It was like, okay, well, she has this going on. She has this going on. Okay, so let me kind of back off a little bit because the kids are young. Let me back off. The marriage is new. Let me back off. She just moved. Let me kind of back off. So it just kind of slowly but surely kind of faded off. And then it got to a point where the kids were at a certain age and I felt like, because I didn't know, your responsibilities had kind of stabilized a little bit. You were in it. You keep a job and you keep a job for a long time. So that was never a thing, so it was like, okay, well, I know she's working. They moved. They're comfortable. Everything is good, all of that good stuff. But maybe she can go out one evening just to go to dinner with me, a couple of hours. I'll come and pick you up, or I'll come and pick her up, or let's just grab lunch. If you're off work, hey, let's just grab lunch, hour and a half. You can be back to whatever it is that you want to do. And that I started feeling that it was like, well, damn, like if she can't even commit to an hour once or twice a year, like, okay, what am I doing? Like, why am I continuing to put my foot forward there or continuing to initiate? And so that was a struggle for me, and it was kind of difficult to back completely away because I was like, well, I've known her for so long and she has been there through some rough periods in my life, and I don't want to let that go, but I'm just not sure how I can rectify that, and I don't know if she wants to rectify that, so
I'll say, when I hear you talk, it's more of self-preservation to some degree because it's like being in a relationship, a one-sided relationship. That's what it seems like you were conveying. It was like you were giving 110%. And for any relationship, be it male, female, same partner, whatever, you got to be met with something. When you're giving 110% or even 96% and that person is only giving 4, after a while you're gonna get tired. And I listen, I can't tell you this enough. I wholeheartedly, from every fiber in my being, understand when you have poured. I know what that's like to feel like you've poured so much of yourself into something. And when it's time for you to get something back, you look down and your cup is empty because
yeah.
you've poured so much of yourself into other places. You have nothing left for yourself. And at that point, it becomes more about self-preservation.
Yeah.
If you continue to get, and I understand that because I've had relationships in my life that and marriage included, that I've poured so much of myself into it that even with my children, my parents, just life. And when it comes time for Nikki, I'm like a limp noodle because I don't have anything left. And I'll say that for a good bit of my 20s, hell, all of my 20s, part of my 30s, Darius, I was that. And it had less to do with outside entities, but more so with me. Because, my husband, he told you.
You and I have talked about that a little bit.
Right.
And I remember you telling me that, because I asked you, anybody else that knows me, I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to confront the situation. I'm very confrontational. So I'm going to be like,
yeah,
right. Yeah. So I'm very confrontational, and I'm like, okay, hold up. Like, let me ask you this. Let me find this out. Let me see what's going on, with that. And I remember asking you, I was like, okay, is it that you don't want to hang out? But there was a point, I don't even know if you directly said it to me or if I received it the way that you were telling me, but you said that you just felt like you couldn't step away from all of the things that you currently had on your plate. And while I understood what you meant, I was like, but aren't you going to get full at some point? Like, you got a plate full of food and you keep eating on this food on the plate, but like, aren't you going to get full and say, okay, let me back away from this for a minute. Let me go sit in this recliner and unbutton my pants and like rub my stomach a little bit and digest this, So yeah, and your husband has told me that too.
Yeah. And I guess, and all of this, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I'm having a honest, truthful moment, all of this is self-inflicted. I'm doing it to myself. And I've gone to therapy about it because I'm a nurturer, I'm a giver, and I feel like I need to be needed. Right?
Okay.
I've got as I stated at the beginning of the conversation, I have a 21-year-old, I have a 20-year-old, and I have two 16-year-olds. I don't have to burp, change, feed, none of that with these kids. But guess
with
what?
These geeks.
Yes, with these kids. I'm trying to remember
I said
what
these geeks. Yeah.
Yes. But I feel like they even though they don't need me, in the back of my mind, I feel like I'm needed. I have to be needed, and I guess I have to at 46. No, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because you
47.
turned 47 in June. You sure
No,
did.
did
You did.
But at this age, this grown age, I'm having to unlearn that character flaw because it's a character. It's truly a character flaw of mine, and I used to think it was a superpower
Okay.
of mine
That's interesting.
because I felt like as long as I'm needed, even with my brother, it's like I felt like I had to Olivia Pope everybody's situation. If I feel like anybody in my life or anybody that's connected to me, they've got the littlest problem going on in their life, it's my job to figure it out. Because in that I felt to feel needed.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Have you interrogated where that might have come from?
No, I haven't. I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it's because the type of mother I have, the type of grandmother I had. I mean, I had a grandmother that made my oldest aunt's bed up until she passed. My grandmother, she lived with us up until she passed. And in her mind, her job was to make sure that dinner was cooked and waiting on me when I got home from work. So
Okay.
I come from a generational thing where the mothers felt like they had to be needed because we get some type of fulfillment out of that.
Okay.
And so it's like now I'm at this place where I'm at a stage where I'm about to be an empty nester. You know what I mean? Because my last two are in their juniors in high school. So it's like, well, what do I do with myself now?
Yeah.
But and most people was like, fool, live your life. The life that you have sacrificed all of your good years,
Right. I know.
to live it. And it's like now I'm stepping into this new season so I can stand back and I can look back over everything and say, God, I missed so much time with people like you that we could have kikied in our good years, our 30s,
Well, I'm gonna say this: we had enough keying in our teens.
Yeah, we did.
And in our 20s, so that has always sustained me. But go ahead, what were you gonna say?
When we were, and another thing, we had that biology 2 class together.
Yeah, God.
It used to cut up
that was
so bad in that class.
It was.
So that was another one of our high moments.
That was a great time, magnificent time in life.
So that's the thing. I think because I have all of those memories, and I know I'm big on valuing having people in my life that I value and
Mm-hmm.
that I know that truly love me. Even like I said, even if we never talked every day or every 3 months, 6 months, I always knew, I always felt in my heart of hearts that when Mike would ask me, can you count on your hand friends in your life? You were always in that. You were always a constant. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think that conversation we had and when you were telling me how you felt about the why things were. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, if he just understood that, I swear it was never my intent to ever make you feel that.
And I do understand that. I do understand
You
that.
know?
Like
And,
it was I needed to hear the words.
you're
I
right.
needed to hear that that's what it was, because when left to my own devices, I don't know what anybody is thinking. I'm not a mind reader. As much as I can
Mm-hmm.
discern a lot of things and I can critically analyze a lot of things, I can't read people's minds. And so I needed to hear, you know what? This is what's going on. This is the situation. This is the instance. This is the issue. It has nothing to do with you. I would have absolutely received the distance a lot better if I had known going into whatever your situation was, that
Right.
was the situation. And that's just kind of where it was for me. I wasn't getting that. And so I was struggling with trying to understand, not having you not having you to explain to me what was going on, to say, okay, what's happening? Like,
Yeah.
okay, so because I don't know what's going on and I haven't talked to her, so here's where I think this is the issue, or here's where
Mm-hmm.
I think some things went wrong, or here's
Mm-hmm.
where the shift happened at this point. All right, so it
Right.
could be this, it could be this, and it could be that. So I'm coming up with my own conclusions and drawing my own conclusions based on some shit that's all in my head, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
have all of the evidence that I need. In thinking about all of what we just said and the fact that there was some distance there, did you ever think about wanting to reconnect and just didn't reach out?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I say that because I think the more I just felt and maybe that's a contradiction because if in my mind I didn't see anything wrong, but I know you well enough to know that when you're done, you're done. You know what I mean?
Usually.
And,
Mhm.
and so it's like if I call, like even because how it started, let's put that
Yeah.
out there. How it started,
Late,
because
later scene. Later scene.
so I text him. I said, "Hey, because I'm seeing all this advertisement for Brandy and Monica." I was like, "Oh my god,
So
that
stop
is
real quick. Stop real quick. Let me go back
okay."
even farther, and I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you finish, Taylor. I'm gonna let you
Okay,
finish. Yeah, but
okay.
Beyonce had the greatest. No, but no. So back in the day, she used to clown me, y'all, because I was really big on girl groups. Like,
Mhm.
that used to be my thing, and it was crazy because it didn't matter what girl group it was. I would usually give them a chance. They could be whack as hell. They could be BAP. I would still give them a chance. Okay. So from Moke and
Ooh.
Steph to YNV. Now, some of y'all might have to go look these people up. But yeah, like one song, I'd be like, oh, they dope. I liked it. So she would clown me all the time about my girl group addiction and the fact that, my music, both of us love music, but
Mhm.
that was it. And so, of course, Brandy and Monica were definitely in heavy rotation when they came out, all of that stuff. All right. So now you can pick up with,
Okay.
yeah.
So now, mind you, I haven't spoke to him. We haven't talked. I haven't sent snail mail, nothing. I
Mm-hmm.
just out the blue sending him a DM. Hey, we need to go to this concert. He's like, hello to you, and how about let's do lunch first? Before we talk
Right.
about going any concerts,
Right. Mm-hmm.
let's have a lunch. Let's do lunch first. Let's baby steps.
Right. Exactly.
Well, okay then, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
but we still going to the show. I mean, hello.
Right.
But, and that's and so I knew that he had some things he needed to get off his, we needed to get into some things. Okay. So, and I understood that. And how most people would be, oh God, what now? Or
Right. What's
even
happening?
when you
Right.
even when you get into that moment when you finally have that conversation. I've been in those moments with people, and instead of them taking ownership
Mm-hmm.
for their role in how you made that person feel, they're wanting to point back at them. Well,
Right. Right.
you talking about me, but you did this, 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 this,
Right. Right.
this. Never, 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 never did I even entertain
And she
doing
didn't.
that
Yeah. Right.
because who am I to tell you how I made you feel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Even though nothing that he felt was my intent.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I made that. That is how my actions made him feel.
Mm-hmm.
So I own that because I'm a big girl and I know that people feel what they feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big proponent of, regardless of what my intent may have been,
Mm-hmm.
my delivery may not have come across like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I say my delivery, it's lack thereof.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say in this moment, and even in the moment when we had our lunch, you are well within your right to feel the way you do.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that was never my intent to ever make him feel, him of all people, to ever make him feel like that, because in my heart of hearts, the love was always there. It's
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
changed, it's never
Yeah.
wavered,
Yeah.
it's never flickered. It was never
Mm-hmm.
that. It's just and it was an eye-opening moment for me, because I even told him in that moment, what was the kick in the gut for me was the type of friend that I prided myself on being.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that I was purposefully doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when one asks me, somebody says, well, give me some words that describe you, or what are some of your best attributes? I say, I'm a good mom, I'm a great daughter, I'm a great
Mm-hmm.
wife, and I'm a hell of a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You got 3 out of 4.
right.
And
You know
like
what
I
I
told you,
mean?
and like I told you at lunch, I don't want you to feel like you're not a good friend because I felt that way. Because honestly, the fact that you're having this conversation and you were willing to hear what I had to say is what actually makes you a good friend. So you can actually put that other one back up. You can
Okay.
put that 4 back up, right? Because I was like, yeah, I said that jazz hands. So yeah, so I was like, that's what makes you a good friend, is that you're able to hear that and say, okay, you know what? There was a deficiency that I didn't address as
Mhm.
your friend. And I see that I didn't address that. I can apologize. I can identify that was an issue. I can apologize for it, and I can make the attempt to correct it. And I've talked about those 3 things. That is almost my mantra when it comes to dealing with in relationships with people. I need to identify where I've wronged you. I need to apologize for it, and I need to try to correct it. And so even at lunch, I was like, yeah, I said, I don't want you to feel like that, because
Mhm.
you're doing that. You're absolutely doing that. And I knew at the lunch when I said, hey, you know what, let's just have lunch first, because I need to catch up with you. I don't know what's going on. I mean, the last
Mhm.
conversation that you and I had, I thought it was about 5 years ago, which was a total lie, because your second oldest
Mhm.
is at my alma mater
Mhm.
in undergrad.
Mhm.
And I had a conversation with you briefly on social media about the
Mhm.
fact that he was going to my school. And so that was
Mhm.
back in 2023, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I look back before the podcast, and I was like, oh, you know what? I was like, we've had a little bit of a conversation then, but it was
Mhm.
really quick. It was like, okay, hey, Cameron's going to, Christian's going
Mhm.
to Winston-Salem State. And I was like, oh, cool. That's dope. And so I said, well, have him reach out if he needs anything, and so it wasn't oh, okay, oh, well, good luck to him.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, let
Right.
me,
Yeah.
yeah, cool. Have him reach out if he needs anything, and let me know. So there's that. And then also I did kind of, to put it back on me, I did feel like reaching out, or I felt like I wanted to reach out, but I
Mhm.
didn't reach out because I felt like it was going to be more of the same. It was like, okay,
Mhm.
well, I can reach out, but why? I could
Mhm.
say, hey, I'm in town, let's go to dinner. She gonna say, okay, well, I'll let you know, I gotta work and I got this and I got that, and then I'm gonna end up being disappointed. So
Mhm.
in order for me to not be disappointed, let me just not ask, let me not you know do
Keep
that.
it
Or
keep it keep it
yeah,
surface.
I'm gonna just keep it surface. Yeah, I will get my
Yeah.
news from her on social media. Oh, she went on a
And
cruise. Oh,
see,
nice. Yeah.
listen, and that's another thing.
Hmm.
You know what, I post sporadically on social
Hmm.
media, and
Hmm.
and I'm getting away from that because I feel like now, a place in my life, the things Mike is teaching me more so to be in the moment,
And Mike is her
that
husband,
everything,
everybody.
yeah,
Hmm.
and I'm sorry, yes, that is. And when we have moments like we go out to, we have that, we go out to eat, and it's nothing, spectacular.
Yeah,
We maybe
yeah.
go to Chili's, have a drink. It's just the time we spend. So
Hmm.
I understand that. At time, I say that all the time. Time is the most precious commodity, and it
Hmm.
costs you absolutely nothing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's the most valuable thing because when you lose a loved one, honestly, all you have
Yeah,
left is the
yeah.
memory.
It's
You
the
know what I
memories. Yeah.
mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
So I now, with, people experience loss, but when I've lost like I have,
Hmm.
it's like I'm really big on sharing those moments that that are special to me with people I know that genuinely give a shit. I don't know
Hmm.
if I can curse, but
No,
give
go
a
for it.
shit.
Yeah, I had
Yeah, give
cursed
a shit.
a bunch of
And
times already.
so,
So.
um, so now it's like Facebook, Instagram, they'll get it if I give it to them.
Hmm.
I'm more of a texting pictures to people now because
Hmm.
it's like the ones that care are in my phone.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have a lot of numbers in there that I don't even text. There was one that I didn't text at all. Okay, for you give me that.
Hmm.
Let me just go ahead and get you before you get me. Okay,
Yeah.
but
Cat, make
but
sure,
I went.
make sure you stay ahead of me because I'm definitely
Yes,
on the
because you was
train.
ready.
Yeah.
Look, that lip
What?
was ready to jump.
What?
What? No, stand down. But
Hmm.
no, I say that I'm just gonna be more connected to the people that I feel that give a shit about what's going on in my life.
Hmm.
Like right now, I'm in the last three classes of my master's.
Yeah.
I was so excited when I graduated and got my bachelor's. You should not have had to find out that I graduated on Facebook.
Right. Right.
That was that's just shitty. I'm just gonna put it out there. But in the moment, it wasn't even about me. I was just so excited because it
Hmm.
was a milestone that I had been putting off for so long, and then I went back at my old age to go back and do it. And even now, I'm in my last, like I said, my last block of my master's program, and God willing, I'll be done in November. I'm gonna go to that ceremony, and I promise you, you won't have to. You'll see it on live because I'll probably go live, but you'll already know if you're not there with me
Right. Right.
doing it.
Yeah.
So it's just those things. I feel like you've missed out on so much, and it was because not a no fault of your own,
Hmm.
no fault of your own. I'm gonna make a conscientious effort to be more connected to the people that deserve my time.
Yeah. And I'll say this too. I had this lofty dream of how our friend group's friendship was going to go.
I remember you said
So,
something about that.
I was like, okay, these are my people. I don't care about
Right.
having no other friends. If I don't make no
Mm,
more friends, it's
you're
these
good.
four right here. I'm good to go. And in my mind, what's her name? Who Heather Headley, I think, was in my mind. That was the
Hmm.
name. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I was like, in my mind, I was like, all right, here's what it's going to be. We're going to be at each other's weddings. We're going to be there for the birth of each other's children. Like, these are going to be my ride or dies until we get out of here. That was my whole thing. And then I can remember when some of those friendships started to fall off.
It's time to take a break from DMC and Nikki's conversation for now. But before we go, here's a clip of part 2.
I was talking about my superpower, but I believe that honestly, that's your superpower, one of your many superpowers, because you are, not for nothing, a hell of a friend. You understand what I'm saying? When you're in somebody's corner, you're all in, balls to the wall. You know, you're down like 4 flat. So never, I hate that. And there's nothing wrong with being cautious. I just don't ever want you to have so much of caution tape around you or around that situation that you miss out on something awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I receive that.
And and just gauge. I would say gauge each situation, because I'm you know me, I'm an eternal optimist. I always, when I'm gonna give somebody, even though they have been like that little baboon in the zoo that bends over and wiggles his little red ass, I'm gonna say, well, you know what? Just give him a chance to warm up to you, because Lord knows I've tried to be Brian's cheerleader for years, and everybody has told me, "You fool, let it go." Why? Why are you like this?
I'm everybody. I'm one of everybody. Absolutely.
Listen, but he said, well, look, you can continue to believe that. I'm going to live in the real world. You can still in your little utopia and still hold out hope.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Now be sure to like, share, and follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and Spotify at Just Drawz. That's JUSTDRAWZ. Until next time,